You know, I was up here filming about 8-9 months ago, wondering where life was going to be, and I'm still here, but you know what? I think this place is still a pretty good place to be, and a pretty good place to just take the time to work out where I am and what? Oh, sunglasses. Sorry, yes, of course, it does block the eye line, but you'd have to... What? Huh? Oh, right, okay, yeah. I see what you mean now. No, doctors basically said they want to give me a brain scan, but it's okay. They reassured me that it's extremely unlikely that they'll find anything. Okay, yes, fine. It's just a sleep scan. Anyway, I'll tell you all about it in a sec. Hello and welcome to this episode of Equal First. I'm Rob Farker, and in this YouTube series and podcast, I hope to help you treat yourself like a human being worth caring for, so that you can show up more fully for the people in your life, including yourself. Now, if you enjoy this episode, I would appreciate you giving it a like, maybe even drop a comment in the comments section down below, if that's available to you, and subscribing to the show so that you can get updated on new episodes as I release them. Now, I don't think I've ever had any consistent trouble sleeping. That said, I have noticed that on a semi-regular basis, I tend to have a little bit of trouble waking up in the morning. Sometimes I still feel a bit tired. At other times I can get doses of the yawns during the day, even if I don't feel particularly tired. Now, I've chatted with a couple of people about this in an unofficial basis. Even Estelle Nkbito, whom I chatted with for episode 3 of this show, who suggested that I might want to look at the amount of sugar that I take in. However, when I went to a local dentist, I actually got what might have been a different story. Now, I have started going to the dentist for the first time regularly only over the past few years. When I was still with my late wife back in Cairns, we didn't have too much money, and most of what was spare in terms of medical expenses started going more on medications and other treatments for her as her condition overall started to worsen. So I think I had not actually been to the dentist by the time I finally went back to one in mid-late 2019, in maybe over 18 years. And when I started going to one while I was up in the Blue Mountains, they noticed that my teeth exhibited stress patterns that tend to happen when someone is grinding their teeth. And it wasn't something that I was aware that I did. I certainly didn't do it during my waking hours, although I occasionally tapped them together to the rhythm of a song that might have been playing or going on in my head. I did have a relative who ground her teeth during her waking hours, and that makes a pretty distinctive sound, one that I'd never noticed myself. But still, the dentist reckoned that it would appear that I'd been doing that. And given that the years, leading up to and of course after Vicky's death, and of course selling the house in Cairns and making the move back down here, well, they had been rather stressful. I supposed that might have been the cause, that perhaps I was just doing it during the night while I was asleep. So they prescribed me with a mouthguard, which I still have and really should be wearing to bed at night more often than I do. But funnily enough, it was only after recently I stopped going to the dentist in Lura after I moved to the southwest. And when I went to a local dentist instead, he actually noticed, or at least if anyone else had noticed, they hadn't told me, that the roof of my mouth, now I'm using my words here, I can't remember the exact words that he used. I'm tempted to throw around a word like patella from my high school biology education, but I don't know whether that's correct for what he was describing. Anyway, apparently the roof of my mouth is elevated, which means that my sinus cavity capacity is reduced, and that could contribute to perhaps any snoring issues that I might have. And, well, I have had a few people including my late wife and also some colleagues of mine at the odd overnight work retreat that I've done, say that I have a tendency to snore rather loudly. So, yeah, he reckoned that that might be a significant contributing factor to the snoring, and also because apparently one thing that the human body does to try and increase the sinus capacity when you're asleep is to clench your jaw, which leads to you grinding your teeth. So he recommended that the next time I go to my GP, I ask for a referral to get a sleep study done. And as you can see, I racked off to a sleep specialist, thankfully a couple of suburbs away, to get myself wired up. This is going to be an overnight thing, and thankfully, especially as I've got Suki to take care of, I don't have to go to a specialised facility overnight. You don't have to dine in, they do it takeaway nowadays. So this is part of my take-home kit. The rest of it is under my shirt, and I don't know, I can show some of it, I think, without perhaps risking any YouTube censors. I do like the way Fleekazoid calls them the Ministry of Love. I might have to shift the microphone out of the way a little bit and perhaps do a bit of a Superman. So yes, here is me pretty much wired up. I don't have any electrodes on my chest. They're basically on my neck and around the back of my head, as you can see, as well as two on either side of my forehead and two smack bang in the middle. So these are going to be collecting the data when I go to bed tonight, and I have to be in bed and horizontal no later than 8 o'clock, because that's when the machine starts doing its thing. I don't have to be asleep by that time, but I think the general idea is that I should avoid doing any doom scrolling or using of tablets and such. Maybe some journaling and take a book with me, so I'm more likely to actually go to sleep rather than have the blue light keep me awake. The thing will shut off at 5 tomorrow morning, and that is when I can safely remove all of this kit from my person. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there are a couple of... Nudge my microphone there. There are a couple of items which I also need to make sure I use. There is this finger sensor, which goes on my index finger. I've got some tape to go around so that it stays on overnight. And also this nasal cannula, I believe I've got the term correct. I'm used to cannulas being needles that get put in your veins so that they can either do IV or draw some blood. But maybe I take this off first. So this goes in my nose, and then it goes over... Ooh, I need to widen this off a bit more. So, in the nose, over the ears, and then make sure... Where are we? Here we go. To tighten this off so it's sitting here, and I also have a couple more things of tape, which I assume go here and here, basically to hold that in place. So yeah, with any luck, that will give me a better idea of what I need to do to make sure that I am sleeping okay, whether that involves getting a CPAP machine or some other solution. Fingers crossed, things don't have to be that drastic, but we will see. But I wanted to make sure I got this video, A, because look, me being taped up is pretty unique looking, but also B, because I wanted this to be an example of how I'm taking care of my human. And perhaps a way of saying that another thing about taking care of a human is not worrying about how you look in public, because I got the train a couple of stations eastward of where I am at the moment, got wired up, and then went to the train platform, got the train back, and walked the 20 minutes from my local train station home. And I don't know, I don't think I got many curious glances, but yeah, ultimately people tend to be pretty much bound up in their own stuff. So if you're walking around like you're about to have a brain scan, or as I said in a couple of science fiction related forums, I'm about to do a net run with a prototype Trode interface. No one really cares. No one batted an eyelid. No one asked me what the fuck was going on. And I was even getting the train home just after school hours. So yes, there were plenty of school kids out and about on the train and at the station and at the nearby bus stop. And nobody cared. So yeah, if I can walk around like this for a little bit of time during the day, maybe we all can worry a little bit less about how silly we are afraid we will look. Anyway, I am curious to know, when have you ever been wired up like this? Whenever, whether you were in a hospital or whether you actually had to be out in public for a little bit. With all of the electrodes glued to you and the wires running all over the place. Or similar, when was the last time you had to be out in a cast? Or when was the last time that you worried about looking silly in public? Or failing all that, what is something that you have done recently directly toward taking care of your human being's health? Anyway, folks, until next time, I hope you do make sure that you're taking care of your human being, alright? Have a good one.